To have you with us. After decades of debate and division, the U.S. Episcopal Church this week said overwhelmingly that gays and lesbians are eligible to become bishops or serve in any other ordained ministry of the Church. At their General Convention, Episcopal leaders also moved toward developing an official right for blessing same-sex unions. These decisions are likely to widen the divide between Episcopalians and the worldwide 77 million member Anglican Communion of which they're a part. Kim Lawton has our special report from Anaheim, California.
At their meeting in Anaheim this week, Episcopal bishops, clergy, and lay representatives tackled a host of social issues, from global poverty to justice for Disneyland hotel workers. But the most divisive topic, once again, was homosexuality.
It wouldn't be a meeting of the Episcopal Church or the Anglican Communion if we didn't somehow engage matters of human sexuality.
The second vote is now open.
Despite concerns from many global Anglican partners, convention delegates overwhelmingly voted to move ahead on two of the most contentious questions: whether to ordain gay bishops and whether to bless same-sex unions. On the issue of gay bishops, the delegates asserted that God has called and may call gays and lesbians to any ordained ministry in the Episcopal Church. The vote effectively ends a de facto moratorium that was approved 3 years ago, although it does not guarantee that more gay bishops will be consecrated. Separately, the bishops voted to move forward in developing liturgies for blessing same-sex relationships. The issue will be taken up again at the next General Convention in 2012. In the meantime, the measure allows local clergy leeway in blessing same-gender relationships, especially in states where gay marriage is legal.
She has been a wise leader and an articulate spokesperson for our movement.
Reverend Susan Russell is the outgoing president of Integrity, a group that works for the full inclusion of gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and transgendered people in the Episcopal Church.
I think the overall message coming out of this convention, not only for LGBT people, but for all who are looking for a community that embraces peace, justice, tolerance, compassion, and the good news of God in Christ Jesus, is that the Episcopal Church welcomes you.
The measures passed in part because many conservative Episcopalians have left the denomination. Those remaining feel increasingly isolated.
Very sad for me, because I'm a lifelong Episcopalian, I'm a lifelong Anglican, and first and foremost, I'm a lifelong Christian. And it is breaking my heart to see the church destroy itself in the manner in which we seem to be doing.
Many delegates here said they voted in the direction they believe God is calling their church to go in. But those votes pose new challenges to a global communion that's already been strained close to a breaking point. There's a lot riding on how what happened here gets interpreted around the world. Many Anglicans, especially in Africa, Asia, and South America, were outraged in 2003 when the Episcopal Church approved the consecration of New Hampshire Bishop Gene Robinson, the church's first openly gay bishop. An emergency communion report called on the U.S. to ban any future consecrations of gay bishops until an international consensus emerges. The communion's spiritual leader, Archbishop of Canterbury Rowan Williams, attended this meeting before the controversial votes took place.
Along with many in the communion, I hope and pray that there won't be decisions in the coming days that could push us further apart.
All those in favor of the amendment to the amendment, say aye.
Aye. Much of this week's debate centered on balancing communion concerns with a desire to move forward.
I believe with my whole heart that we all know where this is going to wind up. It is going to wind up with the full inclusion of all of God's children in God's church.
And I would concede that if indeed it's the right thing to do, we should do it now. I do not believe it's the right thing to do.
And while I am very, very much concerned about our covenant with the communion and our mission, I'm also concerned about our covenant with our gay and lesbian brothers and sisters
The communion for me is too much to lose. There's too much at stake with mission and our ability to apprehend larger, wider truths that go way beyond our own small church and setting in the Western world.
Shannon Johnston, coadjutor bishop in the Diocese of Virginia, said he personally supported the gay ordination resolution but voted against it because he didn't want to further divide the communion.
It was quite wrenching because it took two of the core values of the church and juxtaposed them against each other, mission and inclusivity on the one hand, and then the unity of the church on the other, which is no less a core value of the gospel.
Episcopal presiding Bishop Catherine Jeffords Shorey said her church is not fomenting division.
Schism is not a Christian act.
The approved resolutions reasserted the Episcopal Church's desire to remain an active member of the Anglican Communion. But Bishop John Bruno of the Diocese of Los Angeles says that doesn't mean total agreement with overseas churches about homosexuality.
I think I would explain it to them that the context we live is totally different, and that they have to be tolerant of our context as well as we are tolerant of their context. I still want to be in relationship with them fully.
Reverend Ian Douglas, a representative from Massachusetts, described the votes as being honest with the rest of the world about what the Episcopal Church stands for.
There's no communion without genuine relationship, and there's no genuine relationship without truth-telling. So I see commitments to being in communion and telling the truth about who we are as being of a whole.
Conservative Anglicans already don't like what they're hearing.
I think it signals to the rest of the communion, the Anglican communion, that the Episcopal Church wants to be a member only on its own terms, and that if terms are applied to it, then they will go their own way and have things the way they wish, and others can be with them or not.
David Anderson is among the Episcopalians who left the denomination over theological issues. He was ordained a bishop in the Anglican Church of Kenya.
We receive you as Archbishop of the Anglican Church in North America, with all the rights and obligations related to this office.
Disaffected Episcopalians, including 4 breakaway dioceses, have formed a rival jurisdiction called the Anglican Church in North America. They're seeking recognition from the Archbishop of Canterbury.
I see that as the Episcopal Church continues to go through these earthquakes of adopting things, there's going to be a constant stream of both people and churches, perhaps even more dioceses, that wind up leaving and coming over into the rest of the Anglican communion.
But at the same time, many Episcopalians believe their actions here will help bring in other people who may have felt alienated in the past. Both sides say they're anxious to focus on mission rather than division. I'm Kim Lawton in Anaheim, California.
The Episcopal General Convention next meets in Indianapolis in 2012. Debate over blessing same-sex unions is already on the schedule.